kingdom was silent when the news broke. A royal DNA test, once meant for medical research, had revealed something no one expected. The young heir, raised since birth as the future king, wasn't who everyone thought he was. For years, his smile had been the nation's comfort, his presence the promise of stability. But now, whispers filled every corner of the palace. Who was he really? And what did this mean for the throne, the crown, and the people who had built their loyalty on a lie that started the day he was born? Why royal blood still matters. For centuries, royal blood was more than symbolism. It was power. In medieval Europe, the idea of a pure bloodline wasn't romantic. It was political survival. Monarchs from Henry VIII to Louis XIV built empires not just with armies, but with marriages. Each union was a contract to protect thrones and secure heirs. Blue blood meant legitimacy, and legitimacy meant control. In the 1500s, dynasties across Europe exchanged daughters like treaties. The Habsburgs, for example, mastered the art of intermarriage, linking Spain, Austria, and parts of Italy into a single family web. They believed their pure line was divine, blessed by birthright. But this obsession came with a price: genetic weakness. Generations of close marriages caused physical deformities and illness, proving that royal blood could be both a weapon and a curse. Yet, the fascination never faded. Even today, millions still associate ancestry with destiny. The 2012 discovery of King Richard III's remains under a Leicester car park reignited a centuries-old debate. What makes a royal? DNA confirmed his identity through living relatives descended from his 16th century sister. Science had done what myth never could: verify a king's bones beyond doubt. The same fascination surrounded the Romanov family. Their remains, unearthed near Ekaterinburg in 1991, were confirmed through DNA comparison with Prince Philip, a distant cousin. It wasn't just science, it was closure. For a century, rumors had claimed Anastasia survived, but DNA erased the fairy tale. For many, that truth was harder to accept than the myth. Even in 2025, the public still links genetics to legitimacy. Royal watchers debate lineage charts, question ancestry rumors, and chase DNA connections as though history itself hangs in balance. True blood remains the invisible crown, proof, in the public eye, of who deserves to rule. But what we call royal purity is often just well-documented history. Nothing more, nothing less. The fascination with royal blood has shifted from castles and crowns to test tubes and laboratories. What once depended on gossip and church records now runs on data. But even science has its limits. As royal DNA stories flood tabloids and social media, one question becomes vital. What does a DNA test really prove? And what can it never confirm? To understand that, we must look beneath the hype, into the science that turns cells into secrets. The science behind DNA testing. Every royal mystery solved by DNA begins the same way, with a single strand. Forensic experts extract genetic material from bone fragments, hair, or teeth. In royal cases like Richard III, 2012, or the Romanovs, 1991, scientists used mitochondrial DNA, passed down through mothers, to confirm identity. It's the genetic breadcrumb trail linking the past to the living. But despite the precision, there's still room for error. Genealogical testing, like what millions use in ancestry kits, works differently. These tests analyze your DNA against large databases, comparing unique markers that indicate heritage. They can reveal if you share ancestry with people from the 1700s or trace migration patterns over hundreds of years, but they can't prove royal descent. DNA can confirm relation, not reputation. You might share genes with a noble, one expert said, but that doesn't make you royalty. In the UK, privacy laws under the Data Protection Act 2018 make unauthorized DNA collection illegal. You can't just swab a public figure's item and test it, though tabloids have tried. In 2019, a London magazine faced investigation after claiming to have royal genetic proof of an unnamed child's ancestry. The sample, it turned out, was a forgery. Science, when twisted for headlines, becomes theater. Real royal DNA verification follows strict procedures, sealed evidence, independent labs, and peer-reviewed results. The University of Leicester team that confirmed Richard III's identity spent 10 months testing, retesting, and matching DNA from multiple maternal relatives. "You only get one shot at a king," said lead geneticist Dr. Turi King. Every base pair had to line up before the world could be told. Behind every royal DNA revelation lies both truth and tension. Each case isn't just about solving a mystery, it's about rewriting history. And the balance between science and sovereignty is fragile. Some discoveries restore pride, others expose scandal. But perhaps the most fascinating stories aren't the new ones. They're the old mysteries finally laid to rest. From battlefields to mass graves, royal bones have spoken. And what they revealed changed everything historians thought they knew. Historic royal DNA discoveries. The discovery of Richard III's remains in 2012 was one of the greatest royal breakthroughs of the century. Buried beneath a Leicester car park, the skeleton showed battle injuries consistent with historical accounts from 1485. But what proved it beyond doubt was DNA, matched to living descendants of his sister, Anne of York. After 527 years, science brought a king home. His reburial in Leicester Cathedral in 2015 wasn't just symbolic, it was historical justice. The Romanovs' case was darker. When the remains of Tsar Nicholas II, Tsarina Alexandra, and their 5 children were found in 1991, only DNA could end decades of rumor. For nearly 70 years, the world had clung to tales of Anastasia's escape. But mitochondrial DNA comparisons with Prince Philip, Diana's future father-in-law, confirmed the truth. The entire Romanov family had perished in 1918. Science closed one of the bloodiest chapters of monarchy with undeniable proof. Then came the Bourbon mystery, the heart of Louis XVII. Hidden in a crystal urn and tested in 2000, the tiny organ allegedly belonged to the lost heir of Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette. DNA analysis confirmed a maternal match to the royal line. The boy who disappeared during the French Revolution of 1795 was finally found, or at least his heart was. France wept, not for the crown, but for closure. Each royal DNA case forced historians to confront a difficult truth. Myths die hard, even when science proves otherwise. For centuries, power had shaped history. But in the age of DNA, evidence was rewriting it. "Every test is a duel between legend and data," said one genetic historian, "and the past rarely wins." But for every scientific revelation, there's an equal wave of noise. The more DNA confirmed the truth, the more online speculation began to distort it. Gossip blogs, conspiracy videos, and social media posts started inventing hidden heirs and secret bloodlines. The royal fascination turned digital and chaotic. What began as historical discovery soon spiraled into modern mythology. And once again, the press found itself standing at the center of the storm. Modern royal myths and media frenzy. The moment DNA entered royal history, the tabloids found their new obsession. Suddenly, every headline screamed of hidden heirs and lost princes. By 2015, dozens of blogs were publishing wild stories about secret descendants of Queen Victoria or the forgotten child of Edward VIII. None were true, but the stories traveled faster than ever. Because now, rumors didn't need newspapers. They needed clicks. Gossip sites began crafting family trees with dramatic graphics and fake test results. In 2020, one viral post claimed a German man had DNA links to the Windsors through a servant affair in 1910. Another alleged that a Spanish DNA lab was holding samples proving a modern royal scandal. Both were proven false within days. But it didn't matter. The numbers were staggering. Each story pulled in millions of views, spreading across platforms before fact-checkers could catch up. The palace's strategy? Silence. Historically, Buckingham Palace rarely dignifies such claims with response. Never complain, never explain, has been their rule since Queen Elizabeth II's reign in 1952. Sometimes silence protects dignity, but in the digital age, silence often fuels suspicion. The less the palace speaks, the louder the internet gets. And in that chaos, royal children become targets. From Prince George's birth in 2013 to Princess Lilibet's naming in 2021, online theories have tried to question everything from appearance to paternity, each time crossing moral lines. It's not curiosity anymore, one media ethicist said in 2024. It's obsession disguised as interest. The myth-making around DNA isn't really about science, it's about identity. People want to believe there's more to royalty than duty. They want mystery, connection, drama. But for the next generation, the conversation took a new direction. When Harry and Meghan stepped into the spotlight with their story, it wasn't about bloodlines at all. It was about belonging. The questions changed from who are they descended from to who do they represent? The Harry and Meghan era. When Prince Harry and Meghan Markle sat down for their Oprah Winfrey interview in March 2021, the world listened and divided. It wasn't about DNA or genealogy, it was about race, acceptance, and what it meant to belong in the royal family. For the first time since Diana's 1995 confession on BBC Panorama, a royal spoke publicly about pain behind palace walls. Their words broke tradition. Meghan's statement that there were concerns about how dark Archie's skin might be shook the monarchy to its core. It wasn't a question of genetics, it was a question of humanity. They weren't talking about blood purity, said sociologist Dr. Karen Jones in 2022. They were talking about prejudice wrapped in tradition. Public reactions were split by continents. In the United States, empathy grew. In the UK, loyalty to the crown hardened. Then, Michelle Obama spoke out, urging compassion. My hope is that forgiveness and healing will bring light. Her words echoed the shift, from curiosity about lineage to reflection on character. In that moment, royal blood lost some of its mythic power. What mattered wasn't who carried the genes of Queen Mary, 1867 to 1953, but who carried the message of change. Younger generations started asking, what does it mean to be royal today? Harry and Meghan's departure in 2020 symbolized a quiet revolution, from inherited identity to chosen purpose. The conversation Harry and Meghan started didn't end with their exit. It rippled through the very institutions that once fed on their image, the press. For decades, British tabloids had made their fortune exposing royal secrets, selling millions of copies on scandal. But the rise of digital accountability since 2020 has forced the industry to evolve. What began as unfiltered sensationalism is now a battle between profit, privacy, and ethics, and the palace is still learning how to fight back. The role of the press. For over a century, the British press has shaped, and sometimes shattered, the image of the monarchy. In the 1980s, paparazzi culture exploded. Diana's photos sold newspapers. Her pain sold millions. By 1997, the media chase in Paris had become a moral reckoning. When she died, public anger turned not just on the paparazzi, but on the entire tabloid system that had fed on her life. Still, the hunger for royal stories never died. Tabloids like The Sun and Daily Mail built billion-pound empires on exclusives about Charles, Camilla, and later Harry and Meghan. The business model was clear. Every scandal, every whisper, every photo meant clicks and cash. In 2011, the news of the world phone hacking scandal revealed just how far some journalists had gone, illegally intercepting voicemails of royals and celebrities. The paper folded. The appetite did not. But the digital age changed everything. Since 2020, stricter privacy laws and social pressure have forced the media to adapt. The Duchess of Sussex's 2021 lawsuit against the Mail on Sunday for publishing her private letter to her father set a precedent. Courts ruled in her favor. Editors began to tread carefully, not out of guilt, but out of fear of costly mistakes. New watchdogs and fact-checkers emerged. Online platforms introduced credibility ratings, while independent agencies now track false stories in real time. But the ethical question remains: where does public interest end and personal dignity begin? The monarchy is both a symbol and a family, one royal reporter said in 2025, and we've forgotten how to separate the two. Despite modern reforms, fascination with royal heritage refuses to fade. It's not just the press, it's the people. Across the world, from London to Los Angeles, genealogy has become a cultural hobby, connecting ordinary families to history. But when that curiosity turns toward royals, admiration often blurs into obsession. The next part of the story isn't about scandals or science. It's about us, the audience, and why we can't look away from royal blood. Public fascination with heritage. There's something magnetic about royal ancestry, a mix of history, fantasy, and identity. Around the world, millions now trace their lineage through online databases like Ancestry.com and 23andMe, searching for connections to nobility. In 2023, more than 25 million people submitted DNA samples hoping to find a family story that made them part of something bigger. But no group draws more curiosity than the royal family. People project their own families onto the royals. When Prince George waves from a balcony, it's not just royal pageantry. It's a reflection of family pride, childhood, and continuity. When Princess Charlotte giggles or Prince Louis misbehaves during Trooping the Color, the world smiles because they look so human. That's the paradox. The royals are both symbols and mirrors. We study them not to understand them, but to understand us. Celebrity culture has only intensified this fascination. When Elton John or Madonna discovered distant royal ancestry through genealogy projects in the 2000s, the internet exploded. Suddenly, royal blood wasn't untouchable. It was something you could possibly share. People want their DNA to tell them they matter, a genetic counselor said in 2024. For some, discovering royal roots feels like proof their story belongs to history. But there's a line between curiosity and obsession. Online groups dedicated to royal DNA theories now boast tens of thousands of members, dissecting photos and fabricating family trees. Experts warn that such fixation distorts history and harms living people. "We're no longer studying history," one sociologist said. "We're consuming it like entertainment. Heritage is beautiful when it connects, but dangerous when it consumes." Public fascination with royal ancestry has blurred into conspiracy, and the result is a flood of misinformation. DNA rumors, fake genealogy charts, and doctored scientific reports spread faster than experts can debunk them. But in an age when everyone can be an amateur sleuth, how can audiences separate fact from fantasy? To answer that, we turn to the thin line between science and speculation, and how truth often gets lost in translation. Science versus speculation. In the digital age, every mystery finds an audience, and every audience finds a theory. Since 2018, social media has fueled dozens of viral hoaxes about royal DNA leaks. One infamous Twitter thread in 2022 claimed a stolen lab report proved a hidden heir in Scotland. The report was fake, yet it was shared over 500,000 times before experts intervened. Real science doesn't move that fast. Genetic verification involves layers of testing, peer review, and government oversight. Peer-reviewed journals like Nature or The Lancet publish confirmed findings only after months of scrutiny. But tabloids, they can publish in minutes. And that speed, combined with sensationalism, blurs truth into narrative. Digital forensics teams now specialize in exposing fake DNA claims. One such group, GenCheck UK, founded in 2021, works with journalists to trace the origins of viral posts. In one case, they discovered that a so-called DNA revelation about Prince Harry's paternity originated from a satirical blog in Spain, not a laboratory. Yet, by the time the correction appeared, the story had already reached millions. That's the power of speculation. It doesn't need evidence, only emotion. "Rumor feels faster than research," said a Cambridge geneticist in 2024. "People share what excites them, not what's accurate." But in a world where misinformation spreads faster than DNA can be analyzed, skepticism has become the new literacy. The responsibility to know what's real now lies as much with the reader as with the scientist. When gossip turns scientific, it isn't just about truth. It's about ethics. Behind every leaked rumor or unauthorized test is a person whose privacy has been breached. Royals might seem untouchable, but they're still individuals protected by law. And as technology evolves, the line between curiosity and violation grows thinner. Understanding the ethics of genetic information, who owns it, who can share it, and who profits, has become the new frontier of royal protection. Ethics and privacy in the age of testing. Modern DNA testing walks a moral tightrope. In the United Kingdom, collecting or analyzing someone's DNA without consent violates the Human Tissue Act of 2004. Yet tabloids and online speculators continue to push the boundaries. Genetic gossip, as lawyers now call it, is the new invasion of privacy. It's no longer about stolen photos, it's about stolen identity. In 2020, a tabloid tried to purchase a discarded napkin, allegedly used by a royal at a charity event for testing. Legal threats followed within hours. "Consent isn't optional," said a palace legal advisor in 2021. "DNA isn't just data, it's a person's essence." The rise of consumer testing kits has made privacy even more fragile. Every time someone uploads their results to a genealogy site, that information becomes part of a global database that companies can access, analyze, or even sell. For royals, the stakes are higher. One unauthorized DNA claim can ignite global scandal. For children like Prince George, born 2013, Princess Lilibet, born 2021, the danger is lifelong. The UK's Information Commissioner's Office has started reviewing stricter policies for minors' genetic protection as of 2025. The goal? To draw a clear boundary between public curiosity and personal violation. Behind these legal walls is a deeper issue: empathy. Online speculation doesn't just breach privacy, it shapes identity. When you treat people like exhibits, you strip away their humanity, said ethicist Dr. Helena Moore in 2024. In a world obsessed with DNA, remembering that royals are human, not heritage samples, may be the only moral defense left. After centuries of fascination, scandal, and science, one question still lingers. Why do we care so much? Why does the idea of true blood still enchant us, even when science has disproven its power? Perhaps it's not about them at all, but about us. What the obsession with royal DNA reveals goes beyond genetics. It exposes our need for connection, story, and meaning in a world where lineage feels like the last link to legacy. What the obsession reveals about us. Our fascination with royal blood isn't really about kings and queens. It's about the human desire for belonging, to know where we come from and why it matters. For centuries, pure lineage defined worth. But in the modern world, heritage has evolved into curiosity, not class. The truth is, science has leveled the field. DNA shows we're 99.9% alike, whether we descend from peasants of 1300 or princes of 1600. Past royal DNA cases, Richard III in 2012, the Romanovs in 1991, the Bourbons in 2000, taught historians a humbling lesson. Even monarchs become evidence. Their bones remind us that power fades, but humanity remains. The more science strips away myth, the more we see the royals as what they are: people caught between past and performance. The shift from lineage to leadership has already begun. Today's royals, William, Catherine, Harry, Meghan, are judged not by ancestry but by purpose. Public respect no longer depends on who they were born from, but what they stand for. Royal blood may start the story, one historian said in 2025, but royal behavior writes the ending. And maybe that's the real evolution. Heritage defines history, but not humanity. We still love the legends of bloodlines, but what keeps us watching isn't the DNA. It's the emotion, the courage, the imperfection. Royal blood still matters, not because it's rare, but because it reminds us that even those born to rule are still bound by the same flesh, fears, and fragile roots as the rest of us. Inside the palace, tension grew thicker by the hour. Advisors scrambled to control the narrative. Old letters were pulled from archives, and every detail of the child's past was re-examined. The Queen, once known for her calm, stood by the window and whispered, "Truth always finds its way through marble walls." Outside, the public waited, not with anger, but confusion. They didn't care about titles or bloodlines anymore. They wanted honesty. They wanted to know how something so sacred could be built on a secret. The revelation didn't just shake the royal family, it shook their entire idea of identity. People began asking themselves who they really were, How much of life is written by blood and how much by choice? The young heir, unaware of the full storm, sat quietly in his room, tracing his family crest with his finger. He didn't feel like a mistake. He felt human. By nightfall, the palace released a short statement. The truth does not erase love, nor loyalty. Our family stands together. It wasn't enough to stop the speculation, but it was enough to remind people that legacy isn't in DNA. It's in what we choose to stand for.
And somewhere deep inside those golden halls, one truth settled above the rest.
Sometimes the crown isn't passed down, it's earned.